First, I just want to make an announcement. Last night's class in Likutey Halachot was wonderful, thank God, Baruch Hashem. And everybody in the class was so moved and inspired, they decided to make a little chabura to have a no secular wisdom shvat. Okay? Anybody who wants to know why we did that, B'ezrat Hashem, you should be able to watch the lesson from last night and should check it out. But very simply put, the ability to get your prayers answered is dependent on your mind being clear from all things which express and help cause you to invest in nature. Because the whole concept of prayer, says Rabbi Nachman, is that it's above nature. So part of the reason why a person is not able to have the koach, the strength, the power, the might to roar and thunder when he prays and therefore get his prayers answered is because he is doing something as seemingly innocuous and harmless and parv as looking at secular wisdom. However, Rabbi Nachman says that this is actually the main cause of a person not getting his prayers answered. So therefore, anybody who wants to join us for this upcoming Shvat that it starts tonight, Rosh Chodesh, B'ezrat Hashem, we have right now a group of guys on our WhatsApp group. If you want, you can email us at sionbreslaproject@gmail.com. We can get you in the WhatsApp group if you want to join with us and do it. And B'ezrat Hashem, it should be a huge blessing for you and your family and everybody around you. And obviously, if you've been investing time in doing Hibodedut and you're frustrated because you still don't see your prayers getting answered, and you're tired of crying and roaring and not having an effect, so it's a good time to try something like this. I know it sounds intense or overwhelming, or it's not fitting with modern society. However, modern society has also led you to being very confused in a lot of different ways, me included. And every generation that has created a type of culture which was made by man ultimately is going to make it difficult for you to connect to the fact that Hashem is Machadish, that He renews everything at every moment in reality. So just give us an email. Also, just a quick announcement again, we have B'ezrat Hashem, the class with the Gedalia Fenster in Miami coming up Tuesday night, B'ezrat Hashem. And I had an idea to maybe have some of the students email me or text me some questions that they have that they're dealing with. And then maybe I could show it to Gedalia and we could speak it out in front of everybody. You know, I feel like a lot of the lessons they've heard, and I feel like also a lot of my story, at least my students have heard, and obviously most people have heard Gedalia's story. So I was just thinking that maybe the best use of the time would be if we could speak to the people's questions and maybe try and deal with them together. But that might be something sweet. So just email us at sionbreslaproject@gmail.com and or text me or Benjamin Roberts. Okay, so now we are starting a brand new halacha, Baruch Hashem. We are in Hilchot Levishat Begadim. This is the laws of putting on your clothes in the morning. So now on paper, we know that the laws of putting on the clothes seem very exacting. And for a secular person, he might think that it's bordering on OCD. However, this person should very much learn Likutey Halachot in this section to see how deep is the wisdom of the way in which Chazal, the rabbis, the sages told us to put our clothes on. So let's see what he says. This is the concept of enclothing with shoes. To take off the clothes. That needs to take them off. To put it on. You put it on the right first, techila, the short small, and then you attach it onto the left, techila. V'lamdu mitafilin, kamo shamru v'tinu zichronam, and learn from tefillin that this is what we do. Kitafilin kach minalim, ki minalim hem shmiran relaglin. Ki araglin tzarichin lishmor beyoter lahalotan b'chatzitzonim hasmuchim aleihem. So he's saying like this, that when you put your clothes on, 1 second. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so it says like this, that we put on the right shoe first, and then we tie the left shoelace first. This derives from the laws of donning tefillin, meaning the same way in which we do with the tefillin, so too we do with the shoes. Rabbi Yochanan says there that just as we give preference to the left by tying the strap of the arm tefillin onto it, so too when tying one's shoes, we give preference to the left by tying the shoelace first. Okay? Why is that? Ki haminalim hem shmiran ulaglin. Because shoes, they are protection for the feet. Ki raglin tzarichin lishmor. Because the feet need protection. Beyoter lahalotan mahachitzonim hasmuchim aleihem. They need protection, extra protection, to elevate from the extraneous forces that are adjacent to them. What is it speaking about here? This is based on the Arizal in the Pri Eitz Chaim, in the Shar Tefillah. That is that the feet are connected to Malchut. Malchut represents a Jew's Emunah, their lower wisdom. And we know, and we've been taught many times, that this Emunah, this lower wisdom, what Rabbi Nachman calls the lost princess, she's very vulnerable to being captured. And this is the reason why our Emunah is constantly fluctuating up and down, because she is right above the Sitra Achra, just like your feet are right above the ground. And your feet are keneged Malchut, they're keneged your Emunah. And this is the reason why we need extra protection for our feet, that we have to put shoes over them, because the feet are conceptually Bechinat Chochmat, this lower wisdom. Bechinat Tachlit Tzimtzum, the purpose of these constrictions that we spoke about before. Meaning, we spoke previously about how the tzaddik emet, this genuine true tzaddik who has these divine perceptions of godliness, what does he do with them? He then constricts them and contracts them to be able to give them over to you where you're holding. This is the concept of putting shoes on your feet. That you need to cut off from the four kingdoms and to elevate to the concept of the or panim. Meaning, we said that what's the whole difficulty and challenge that's making your malchut so vulnerable? We said secular wisdom. That secular wisdom is the root and the shoresh of the four kingships or influences which capture your faith, the Jewish person's faith. And as a result, not only do you lose your faith, but your faith is the vessel with which you receive the light of Hashem. It's your keli. So to speak, Hashem's Torah is his or, is his light. It's the revelation of himself. It's his da'at, that you know that everything comes from him. You experience it in real time. And this is the ultimate goal, to know Hashem, says the Zohar. However, your ability to know Hashem is dependent on your emunah in him. Like the secular world says, when I see it, I'll believe it. Rabbi Nachman says, when you believe it, you'll see it. Meaning, when I have emunah, then you'll have da'at. Because emunah is lower wisdom. Emunah is the vessel which holds the upper wisdom to know Hashem, to experience Hashem in all of your ways. So for that, you need emunah. But what's the problem? Emunah is vulnerable to the Sitra Achra. We actually see this in the very first story of the Torah. That Adam Rishon, he represents Chokhmah, the upper wisdom. That's why he could see from one end of the world to the other, meaning he was pure God consciousness. He saw Hashem everywhere. That's why he was able to name all of the animals, because we know that the name of something is reflective of that thing's actual spiritual essence. Who can see the letters in a person's name? Only a person who has chokhmah, this upper wisdom. That's his Adam Rishon. This is also alluded to by the fact that Adam, the gematria of his name, equals 45, which also equals ma, what? What's the connection between what, ma, and Adam? The answer is that it's taught in Chassidut and Kabbalah, your ability to acquire chokhmah is through humility, through bitul, self-nullification. That's ma. Like I said about Avraham Avinu, I'm nothing but dust and ashes. That David HaMelech says, I'm less than a worm. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu, the one who draws down the Torah for all of us, who we know is one of the only souls not affected by the Chet of Adam Rishon. And he says, Ma nachnu. What am I? What are we anyway? The ultimate level of humility, ma. And this is the key to chokhmah. And by the way, it's in the word itself. Chokhmah is a combination of two words. Koach ma, the potential of ma. Meaning that through ma, through humility, I get the koach to know Hashem, the strength to know Hashem. Chava represents chokhmah tata, the lower wisdom, meaning Emunah, a Jew's Emunah. And the Nachash represents all the forces of the Sitra Achra, meaning secular wisdom. What happens? Secular wisdom comes over to Emunah and says, hey, I have a great idea for you. What was that idea based on? Secular wisdom. It wasn't based on what Hashem said. What ended up happening to Chava? Because she's Malchut, she's Emunah, she's vulnerable to the Nachash. So she ends up being captured by him. And as a result of that, Adam goes down as well, meaning that your chokhmah, your ability to see Hashem in all your ways, to experience him in real time, the light of godliness, that also goes down. And this is all reflected when you put your shoes on. Shebashalosh raglayim, because we know that the days in which you're able to experience the light of Hashem, the deep penetrating light, Hasaga's perceptions of godliness, is most concentrated and most explicit on the three Chagim. That is Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. But we know that these days are called Raglayim. Why are they called Ragalim? They're called Ragalim because it's connected to the feet. Umisham nimshachim bechinat minalim shehem shomrim et haraglin me'achitonim. Because they protect the shoes from the they protect the feet from extraneous forces. Meaning that these three holidays, they protect your feet, your emunah, from the Sitra Achra. And that's why you're able to receive the light of Hashem's face on that day. V'zehu ketefillin. And this is the same thing by tefillin. Why? Because tefillin, shehem or panim. Tefillin themselves represent the light of Hashem's face. We know that Adam Rishon, after the Chet, after the original era, which was derived from secular wisdom, and also Rav Natan himself says that the tree that they ate from, the Eitz Da'at Tov Ra, is also representing secular wisdom. Why? Because secular wisdom has good in it, but it also has the opposite. So too, this tree, and a tree always represents wisdom or consciousness, like we know that the gematria of Eitz Hasadeh, the tree of the field, is the same gematria as Da'at. And there was two trees in this field. They also both represent a type of Da'at, the type of knowledge, a consciousness. One of them, the tree of life, is the Eitz HaChaim. That's the consciousness of Torah. Torah or, meaning, like the Zohar says, Deraita Shechinte Echad, that Hashem and the Torah are one. Meaning the consciousness of godliness. This was the Eitz HaChaim. This was the tree of life. And then right next to it, you had secular wisdom. That is the Eitz Da'at Tov Ra. And this is what the Nachash got Chava to eat from. Because there's no way to get Chava or Adam to make an error except by first dragging them into secular wisdom, because this is how we are vulnerable, and most vulnerable actually. Now, what happened to Adam Rishon? The Zohar says that Hashem made clothes for him because he realized he was naked, meaning that he was naked from godliness. So what did Hashem do for Adam? He gave him or, right? Ayin Vav Resh, flesh. Now the Zohar says, what was the or that he gave him? Tefillin. Meaning that after the chet, that chokhmah, the light of godliness, the or panim, the light of Hashem's face, that it went into exile, but Hashem understood that Adam wouldn't be able to survive without a modicum of it. That's for you, David Eliach. You can look it up after. That is, messianic figure. Okay, great. So you have the light, that represents the or panim. This is, so to speak, a contracted version of the chokhmah which Adam Rishon saw from one end of the world to the other. Kedua kach minalim. So too with the shoes, says the Gemara, meaning ki misham nimshach behina taminalim shehem bechinat shmira l'raglin. Meaning it is drawn from there, these shoes, that they are the concept of shmira for the feet, meaning shmira for Emunah. And that's the reason why you need to put on your right shoe first. So we see it's not from that all the sages happen to have undiagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder. It's because it's based on very deep Kabbalistic wisdom that you put your right shoe on first. That is, ki ikar hu b'chinat yamin, hu hesed. Because in Kabbalah it's explained that the ikar of spirituality, the ikar of godliness, is the right side. Because the right side represents love. And we know that ultimately, that Hashem created the world and he built it through love. And so too, we build our own lives through love and through kindness. That this is the ikar. And like we've said many times before, so too when you raise your children, that the Torah teaches you that you need to, on the one hand, hug them, and on the other hand, push back. But the essence is the hug. Meaning that whenever you discipline your children in order to help them to become better people and ultimately turn into and actualize all of their potential, which takes gevurah at times, but that gevurah has to be rooted in your love for them. And that's the only way it's effective. Not only is it the only way it's effective, it's also the only way it's not traumatic. Because if you discipline your children and the root motivation is not from your love, you're doing it simply because you don't have the tools to deal with your children, or because you have not worked on mitigating your anger, X, Y, and Z, you have not acquired patience, then what's going to happen is not only does the discipline, it's not effective ultimately, but on top of that, it also hurts the child. So what happens if you make the ikar, your love for your children, that's your motivation in what you do? Then when you bring discipline, then the discipline is effective and it's helpful, and the child will end up loving you even more for it. So too, we learn from this how Hashem is with us. Like Rabbi Nachman teaches, that Hashem loves justice and he loves the Jewish people, but he loves the Jewish people more. Meaning that the root and the ikar for everything that he does with us, whether it is pleasant or it's not pleasant, is rooted in his love for you. Now, the actions that he does as a result of that love, that might come in the form of difficulties or challenges in my life, which is gevurah, which is din, which would be the left side, but that left side is always encompassed in the right side. Because the right side is ikar. That through this is we sever the malchut from the four kingdoms and we build it up. Because we said, based on a lesson in Likutey Moran, what is it that draws your Emunah out of exile? So we said it's the concept of chesed. The right side, chesed, Avram Avinu, he's the one who destroys the four kingdoms. Why? Because his whole being is bound up with kindness. Kindness is what extracts your Emunah out of secular wisdom. It's what takes it out of the other side. Therefore, what? There you need to put on your right foot first, your right shoe first, sorry. You need to put your right shoe on first. Why? Because it's the right side, which is the explicit and the essential faculty. Therefore, you tie your left one first, even though you put your right one on first. Why? Because with the tefillin that represent the light of Hashem's face, you tie the left side first. Because the tying of the shel yad, of the arm tefillin in the left first, it's impossible because it's only that the arm tefillin, by preceding donning the head tefillin, is that receiving chesed is possible only through the tochacha of the tzaddik, the moral and the spiritual guidance of the tzaddik, the rebuke, where we explain that the rebuke of the tzaddik is not something which is traumatizing. It's not something which is anger-inducing. It's not something which causes us to feel bad. The tochacha, the rebuke of the tzaddik, is the sweetest thing. The Rabbi Nachman compares it to the voice which comes from Gan Eden, the Kol Yaakov, that this tochacha is so sweet that it causes you to want to grow because you're motivated, because you're excited to grow, not because you feel bad about yourself. And Rabbi Nachman says this tochacha, this rebuke, is chesed. And through this, you're able to receive the light of Hashem's face. Why? Because the rebuke is the left side. And through the left side, now you can put on the or panim, the light of Hashem's face. And this relates to Chazal's exposition of Yadcha. Because we know that when we put on the tefillin, where do we know that we should put it on the left side? Because it's spoken about in the Gemara that the word Yadcha comes from the word Yad and Cha. Cha meaning that it's weak, the weak arm. And he says there, study the Rebbe's lessons over there. Why? Right? That is, occasionally, rebuke involves humiliation, that the person himself, he doesn't feel good about, not that he goes into sadness or despair, but it involves him feeling a little bit of embarrassment over what he did. Like it says, that Malkeh, he turns pale, the other's panim. Like it's written about Eli not rebuking his sons. What did it say there? He didn't rebuke them. And we know that ultimately his children all ended up going off. So we see that there is a concept of holy rebuke that only the true tzaddikim are able to do. Ki tefillin hem mochin, because tefillin are the concept of mochin, higher consciousness, da'at, to be able to know Hashem, to experience godliness in your life. Hem ikar hamshachat hasagat elokut, that they are the essence of the drawing of divine perception, an amar b'Torah, that's drawn down in the Torah. She'ikara hu bechinat tefillin, that the essence is the concept of tefillin. Ki yedua lemevin devarav, like is known by those who understand his words. Ki tefillin shel rosh v'shel yad, that is that the tefillin shel rosh, that of the head, v'shel yad, and that of the arm, he bechinat chokhma ila'a v'chokhma data, that the upper head tefillin, they correspond to the sphere of chokhmah. That is the light of Hashem's face, God consciousness, or panim. Hasaga elokut. Now, even though this is the transforming property, this is only possible by first tying on the arm tefillin, because the arm tefillin represent the lower wisdom, chokhmatata, which represents Emunah. That is that I believe in Hashem without understanding. I believe in Hashem without understanding what's taking place in my life. I believe that this is for the best, even though I don't experience that. And then through tying that on, which is difficult, that's why you have to strap it. You don't just place it. then you're able to experience the light of Hashem's face. He reveals to you the good in it. But that only comes first by strapping the left. So too, we're learning that by tying the shoes, this is the reason why you put the right foot on first, meaning because the right shoe is chesed, that is love, that is the whole ikr for why Hashem does what he does with us, because of his love for you. But ultimately, your ability to be able to actualize that right shoe, to experience the final product of the right shoe, to experience that love in your life, you first need to put on your left shoe now and tie it. Meaning, you need to experience and to allow yourself to become Emunah. To experience simple Emunah Pashuta, that I believe that everything is from Hashem and for the best. And through this, I'm able to put on the head tefillin. But we understand that your ability to put on Emunah, you need to first have a tightening. What would be the tightening in this case? The tightening is the extracting yourself from secular wisdom. That by extracting yourself from secular wisdom, you remove your Emunah out of exile. That's putting on the arm tefillin. And now that you put your Emunah on, you put your arm tefillin on, now you can put your head tefillin on. You can receive the light of Hashem's face, which Rabbi Nachman says is the entire ikar of simcha. That the ability to achieve simcha, a deep inner joy, which is not based on any external stimulus or circumstance, that I'm just literally besimcha tamid, I'm happy always, that means you must be receiving the light of Hashem's face. And your ability to receive the light of Hashem's face is dependent on your ability to have emunah, which is the arm. But your ability to have emunah is dependent on your extracting it from secular wisdom. That would be the tying. So we see that the only way to be besimcha tamid is first you need to remove and sever yourself from the four kingdoms, the four malchuts of the Sitra Achra, which are all rooted, says Rabbi Nachman, in chokhmot chitzoniot, that is secular wisdom. Therefore, you need to tie the right initially with the left. Sorry. You need to tie the arm tefillin, the yad, in the left. That is the weak arm. Because that's the concept of the rebuke of the tzaddik. And through this is revealed Hashem's chesed. And through this you sever the wisdom, the lower wisdom, from the malchut, the four kingdoms. Anybody have any questions from this lesson? Any questions from today's lesson? Don't be shy. Messianic figure. Do you have anything messianic to say? No. Okay. Somebody ask me anything. How's my day? How are you doing? Does anybody care? No, nobody cares.
So, Rabbi, I have a question.
Huh? Always all of you guys. Oh, good. Thank God. Yes.
So, what's the essence? You were explaining that. You hear me? Do you hear me?
I hear you. Go. Yeah.
So we're saying that the right shoe is what makes is the chesed when you're putting it on, right? And then you're tying it the left. That's basically what you explained.
Hashem is reminding you from the very beginning, it's about love.
So why, when you take it off, you take off the left first?
Oh, very nice.
What is the inner aspect of that concept?
Very nice. So he doesn't say it here, but I would venture to guess like this. Right side represents love. The left side represents the constriction, the emunah, right, that you need to have. And there you're able to experience the tying of the right, meaning the orpanim, the light of Hashem's face. That is the full revelation of his love. So we're saying, when it comes to that love, we don't want to let go. So you take off the left shoe first, because we want to hold on to the ikar. You take off the left shoe first, which is the constrictions, and you keep the right shoe on as long as possible. Okay? But he does not say here, but it's a very good question. Very nice extrapolation. into the Torah learning. Any other questions, Messianic figure?
I was waiting for you to say Messianic figure, reveal yourself, and then I was gonna put on my video.
Oh, no. We all know that that this is not the real deal yet. So we're just we see the polka dot shirt and we know you cannot be the Messianic figure. you have severed yourself from the running. Nobody can follow the guy in the polka dot shirt. However, anything is possible in the future. You could eventually become a Messianic figure. There is a rumor that his last name ends in OV. So
my last name is not OV, but
I know, but that's also in the works. Bezrat Hashem, you can add it to your name.
Rabbi, quick question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you take off clothes, they say that you should take one clothes at a time. What happens when you take both clothes at the same time off? Meaning you have two shirts, and instead of taking one shirt one at a time, taking both at the same time.
Yes. You end up actually tripping and falling backwards. No, I'm just kidding. The Gemara says that when you take off two clothes at once, it leads to forgetfulness. And therefore, it's very, very important that when you remove your clothes, you do it one at a time. By the way, it's very interesting because my son in the bathroom, I saw him there and I was telling him, you got to take off your one thing at a time. So he says, Abba, look. And he shows me he's doing it one at a time. I go, it's great. He said, yeah, I'm doing this because you're looking at me. But when I'm at school, I don't do that. I said, very good to know. I'm glad that the parenting is really working out for us. Thank God that you're doing it only because you see me. But thank God, it's a good first step. But ultimately, the simple understanding is that it has to do with forgetfulness. That somehow by taking off multiple layers of clothes at once is like that. However, we do know that clothes spiritually are the representation of the vessels for receiving the light of Hashem. That you need to have clothing. That's why it says that Hashem found us in the wilderness. Okay, you got to put yourself on mute and stop speaking other languages. 1 second. That Hashem found us in the desert without any clothing on. We were naked. What does that mean? We didn't have the vessels to receive Hashem's light. Okay, so therefore our ability to remember Hashem is dependent on our ability to have good clothing. Rabbi Nachman was also very makpid that a person doesn't have stains on his shirt or on his clothes. And we know that the Gemara itself says it, but he says, Badavka, you should really try your very, very best to make sure that you do not have any stains on your clothes. There's a very deep reason why. We're not going to get into it. But the basic premise is your clothes are, so to speak, reflective of how Hashem is dealing with you. So if you have, let's say, wine stains or blood stains, wine stains. So then it could be that there's dinim, there's judgments. So you want to keep the wine off the clothes. Okay, it also has to do with Bagama Brit. It's a whole thing. But anyway, basic, simple understanding that we need to understand is clothes are the concept of malchut. They are the concept of your malchut. That's the reason why how you dress is also how it affects how you influence your others. Okay, that's why the Kohanim and they had to wear different types of clothes in different situations. Okay, the clothes represents a person's malchut. So you don't want to blemish your malchut by taking it off at once. You want to do it step by step, slowly. Okay? Any other questions?
Yes, the concept of the stains.
Yeah.
I read that also, and I also wanted to understand how, because obviously it's a normal thing to not have stains in your clothes, but I see that he very much emphasizes the spiritual aspects of it and how important it is. So, like, how about sometimes, like, you have a little bit dirtiness on your pants, or a little bit like, it's not like 100% crispy, but it's a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so to what level, to what extent does a person have to be particular about it?
He should try his best, just in general, to be to dress in a way that's clean. But I think he specifically means stains.
Stains, right?
Stains, because stains are, so to speak, they're like dam, they're like blood. Or their stains are like pagama brit, right? That you would have a stain from that. So the revelation of that pagam, of that blemish, ends up manifesting in a person's clothes. Just like the pagam of the Brit ends up manifesting in the blemish of a person's of Emunah. Okay? So we know that Rabbi Nachman was very makpid, even by Rav Natan, when he had dirt on his shoes and things like this, he would rebuke him for it. How are you going to wear shoes like that, X, Y, and Z? Rav Natan, towards the end of his life, he said, I can do everything that my master can, except for one thing. I cannot remain clean like him. He said that Rabbi Nachman used to be able to literally walk through mud and through dirt, and you would not see one stain on his clothes.
Crazy.
What's the reason for that? Because the deep reason is because Rabbi Nachman had attained the level of tzaddik yesod olam, so he has no pagam at all. So because he has no blemish at all spiritually, it can't manifest itself on his clothes. Whereas we know Rav Natan represented, so to speak, his Yoshua ben Nun, that was his lower wisdom, his malchut, the one who would be able to reveal Rabbi Nachman's teachings. And even though he capped out his potential 100% and he became a very, very, very great tzaddik, he was trying to hint to the fact still I could never get to the point that I didn't have any stains at all, like my Rebbe. Because to not have any stains at all means, so to speak, I have acquired this level of tzaddik yesod olam.
Rabbeinu.
Ka'ad, B'kol Gadol. Yes, go ahead.
What's it called? If a person that wears clothing that's full of stains, it's like he has a blemish on himself.
Rabbi Nachman says in a deep spiritual way, Kabbalistically, is a reflection of the fact that he has inner judgments or inner lackings, and these inner lackings then reflect itself on the person's clothing. Yeah, I see your shirt. You got to change it. I'm just kidding. Anybody else? Any final questions? Come on, anything you want. Shoot. Let's go dig it. David, come on. Messianic figure. You should have many questions.
I have many questions, but I want to give everyone a chance.
Yeah, and nobody's saying anything, so get back in it. Let's go.
Good job, David. Quick question for you. Is it possible for us, everything that he's learning, everything's from Likutey Moran, everything that he's taking out, all the halachot is from there. Can we go to the actual source and maybe twice a week in the morning we can learn, instead of the halachot, we can learn the Likutey Moran? Maybe twice a week, Monday, Tuesday, the halachot, and then Wednesday and Thursday that. Just throwing it out there.
Let me think about it. I see what you're up to. It's a very good idea. The truth is, the best way to learn Likutey Moran is a lot of people, what they do is they'll learn it together, meaning they'll learn Likutey Moran and then they'll learn the Likutey Halachot that deal with that piece. Obviously, this is a very extensive, very even type of learning. It's possible. Let me think it over. Good
Thank
question.
you.
Nice holy chutzpah. Anybody else? Any final questions? Okay.
On Thursdays, we're not going to have the Likutey Moran. It's going to be only Tuesdays, correct?
It could be this Thursday also if you play your cards right. You got to pray for it.
Gotta pray for it. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to be for individual, specific people that you invite only.
It sounds like you're trying to create some type of hidden secret society on Thursday nights. I would like to invite anybody if we end up doing the class, since it's not just about moi, it's also about you as well. So we got to make sure everybody has a chance to take a part. Now I'm going to end by giving David Eliach a large word that he can look up in Webster's dictionary, because I know that this is his chiyut, this is his life force. Let me think right now. Okay, hispandut. What?
Hispandut.
Hispandut, yes.
Yes. Okay, look it up.
There's an English name for it, by the way.
Look up a word we said last night, David. You missed it. Devolution. That is not evolution. That is not a process of evolving upwards. It is a process of devolving. That you're degrading. You're moving down. It's called hishtalshalut in Hebrew. Okay. The devolution. Look it up. Is that the
Sounds
Shem?
like the devil.
Yes, I know, but it's not. Even though we understand that devolution comes from the. Okay. So now everybody have an amazing, amazing day.
Rabbeinu, what?
Yes.
And also like about clothing, like that one should not have clothes with stains. My mom keeps on telling me you have to be presentable because people may judge you how you look.
Oh, wow. Very deep chokhmah in that. Rabbi Nachman actually says that if you have stains on your clothes, it means Hashem is judging you. So your mom is right, but it wasn't about people. It's about God. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, your mom is very, very deep wisdom. Okay, you should listen to your mom. Basic premise in life. We know that the pasuk says, listen to the tochacha of your father and listen to the Torah of your mother. Okay, so listen to the Torah of your mother. She has an extra dose of bina. She's not just wanting you to look clean and presentable so she's not embarrassed in front of her friends. She also wants that you should attain very high spiritual levels, David.
And also clean clothing. Also, clean clothing shows like a good hygiene.
For 100%. Very good. You got it, David. Okay. It's also a Kiddush Hashem that people should know that people who are spiritually inclined or are working on elevating themselves in the transcendent worlds are not necessarily like the secular world believes that automatically if you do that, you have all of a sudden completely taken all of your hygiene and all of your cleanliness and thrown it in the garbage. There is no such thing like this. This is a false thing. So therefore, we need to do a Kiddush Hashem and show everybody that when you grow spiritually, that your clothes also get nicer. Okay? Everybody have an amazing day.
Wait, Rabbi, I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned a lot about this concept based on Nachman's teachings, of course, of to remove secular wisdom from yourself, which is very true and it's unbelievable. But I have a question on that, which I removed the Joe Rogan podcast, all that crazy stuff.
Join our WhatsApp group, by the way, David. We did a WhatsApp group. No secular shvat. There's guys last night. They all came together, said for 30 straight days, we're all not going to look at secular wisdom.
A long time ago, you already helped me with that.
Yes.
So,
okay, good. Thank God.
But I have a question based on that.
Yes.
There's certain midot that I want to fix within myself, right?
Yes.
And I find a lack in the Jewish world, like a whole book about it. For example, there's a very big bestseller in the secular world called "Stop Procrastinating" and like start doing something like that, right? So it's a whole book on this concept, and I don't see it in the Jewish world, but it's a secular book. But it's a whole book based on a topic that I want to improve in, which I don't see that the Jewish world necessarily has a whole book about it.
Yes.
Chapter here, chapter there, but something that I want to fully and grow. And and the way I do it is by learning about it. So I don't see it in the Jewish world.
I understand. Rabbi Nachman used to say that all of the musar that you need is in Likutey Moran. Okay? So I will tell you like this. When your learning is serious enough in the Das of Rabbeinu, that you are swimming in the seas of Likutey Moran, Likutey Halachot, Sichot Aran, X, Y, and Z, you will see that actually the reason why a person has trouble getting up and being having alacrity is actually because of a lacking in Emunah. And as his Emunah increases, he automatically gets up quicker. And once he has complete Emunah, he attains this thing called Zurizu. Okay? So therefore, even though on paper it seems like I'm not going to get it if I don't get a specific topic or a book that's based on this thing, the real truth is that if you focus exclusively on this deeper wisdom and trying to bring it every day into your life to the best of your ability, you will see that automatically you will acquire vigilance.
I got it.
Make sense? Like obviously people say to me, why don't I just learn like, let's say the garden books, right? So the garden books are good, but ultimately Rabbi Nachman did not say you should learn my garden books every day. He said you should learn Likutey Moran every day. Okay. Now, why did he say that? There's many reasons for why he said that, but ultimately it's like Rabbi Nachman said, because everything is there. Everything is there. Okay. So even though it might take you more time to actually glean those things that you're looking for, it's specifically, ultimately, if you are steady and consistent and you are resilient and persistent in it, you will find that when you actually get it, you're going to get it. As opposed to maybe when you read books which kind of glean some of the wisdom from Likutey Moharan, you might hear it over and over and over and over again, but never be able to actually bring it into your life. Because ultimately, all good things take hard work. So therefore, you need to really, really apply yourself in the learning of Rabbeinu's Svarim. And by doing that, you will see that all of these midot, you will 100% get. And the proof is, when you see true Breslov Hasidim, you will see the most beautiful midot you ever saw in your life. The vigilance, the humility, the smile on the face, the patience. How do they all get that? Are they all reading Musar books or are they all reading secular wisdom? Definitely not. But what they are doing is every single day, they are bittul to the Rebbe and they learn all the things that he tells them to. Rabbi Nachman says it's a very good idea that you should have one Seder in Likutey Moharan which is quick and one which is slow. But ultimately, when Rabbi Natan used to get letters from his students and from his children, and they used to bring different difficulties and challenges that were practical in their life, meaning I have an issue with this, I have an issue with that, I want to work on this, I want to work on that. His response to everybody was always the same. I don't know why you're asking me. Everything is in our Rebbe's books. If you just learn those books, you will see that the answer to your question is there. Unless you think Rabbi Nachman didn't mean what he said about that, it didn't apply to you, he says you're wrong.
So true, so true.
Okay, so you just have to have a lot of conviction. You have to
fully immerse yourself in the waters
of
fully
immerse yourself. You have to. It's mamish an ocean, and if you go in and you tap your feet in a little bit, you don't get the full effect of the mikveh. You only get the full effect of the mikveh of Rabbi Nachman Mefega when you're fully immersed. And don't think to yourself as well, like many people say, but if I learn Likutey Moharan, then I'm not going to learn anything else. If a person is really learning Likutey Moharan, it's going to give him the chizik and the desire and the ratzon and the power to actually learn Gemara and Halacha, to do Hipodadut, X, Y, and Z, because all of these things are drawn from that da'at. I've heard so many times people say, if you learn Likutey Moharan, you're not going to learn anything else. It is not true. The majority of people that I see, all my students, that they have learned Gemara for the first time because of Likutey Moharan, that they decided to take learning Halacha on themselves because of Likutey Moharan, that they decided to learn a daf of Gemara because of yesterday I saw a person, he came up and he told me, I want to tell you that I was learning Likutey Moharan, which he started learning recently. We had conversations and thank God he started learning. He read the third tour of Likutey Moharan. He told me in the schut of Likutey Moharan last night, I learned a whole daf of Gemara and Pesachim with Rashi and Tosafot. Okay? Wow. So don't say that if I'm going to learn Rabbi Nachman's wisdom, I'm not going to learn anything else. That's only true if you're not learning it for the right reasons. If you're learning it because you want to just get spiritually high, so then yes, you may not end up doing it. But if you learn it because you truly want to experience all the things that Rabbi Nachman speaks about, meaning that I want to take his Torah and I'm going to turn it into action, I'm learning in order to do, then you're going to end up learning Gemara, you're going to end up learning Halacha, you're going to end up learning even Midrashim and Zohar and Musar and everything.
So you find that Likutey Moharan has precedence over all of Nachman's books?
1,000,000%.
Even Sichos Torah, the simpler books?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And the reason why I say that is because Rabbi Nachman said that. Okay? I don't know anything. But I'm just telling you that Rabbi Nachman did not say you should have a Seder in anything else of his books besides Likutey Moharan. He says you should know it so well, it's entrenched in your heart, that your thoughts are the thoughts of Das Rabbeinu, that automatically that what's going on in your mind, in your heart is literally just a revelation of what you've learned in Likutey Moharan, that it should become, so to speak, just like in school that they have inculcated you with a type of wisdom that you do a washing and a mikveh, and you do it the other way, and you do it with Rabbi Nachman's Torah. I can tell you for a fact, look, People have dissuaded me from learning Likutey Moharan many, many times. My Seder
like
in
breast lovers or even non-breast lovers?
No. People who are not in Breslov. Why? Because they know that there are certain people that they will learn Likutey Moharan and they don't do anything else. Okay? But anybody who learns for the right reasons is going to be the opposite. I literally have the craziest learning Seder in the world, and it's only in schut of the fact that I learn Likutey Moharan. And the fact that I do an hour of Ibodedut every day, only in the schut of Likutey Moharan. Rabbi Nachman says that this book is the beginning of the Geula. Okay? So this was something that Rav Natan highly suggested as well. And even though Likutey Halachot is incredible and you must learn it, and even though Sichut Haran is incredible and you must learn it, and all of these things, Sefer Midot is awesome and you should read it. Rabbi Nachman says Likutey Moharan is the Geula. Now, it's a difficult text, and therefore it's going to take more brain power. You're going to have to assert yourself more. You're going to have to acquire more patience to get through it. However, ultimately, like we just said, if you have in mind that I am going to really go through it and take my time, and no matter how long it takes, just keep going, and you're going to see that as time goes on, it becomes easier and easier to learn it, and it's going to become more second nature to you. And once the das of Rabbeinu becomes in your heart, that's your geula. Because you're going to know how to experience life. It's going to be through the lens of the mikvah. It's going to be completely pure. It's going to be elevated. And this is really mamish the key to Emunah. So this is why I'm so makpid on teaching Likutey Moharan all the time. This is why I always suggested to everybody that the key to geula in a person's life is two things. You learn Likutey Moharan every day, and you do an hour of Ibodedut every day. If you can muster the fortitude, the courage, and the strength to force yourself to do these two things, you will end up also learning Gemara, learning Halacha, going to the mikveh. You will also be a good person. You will also do all of these other things. These are the two pillars. I've seen it so many times in literal bachush, in experience, and obviously with myself. And what Rav Natan says the same thing over and over again to everybody. Learn Likutey Moharan. Do Ibodedut every day. And you will see, you will experience Geula in your life. Bezrat Hashem, it should be very soon for all of us in particular and collectively. And also that this class should be a Refuah Shlema, complete healing for Yehuda, Aryeh, Raphael, Ben, Yita, who's in a very difficult condition right now because of the COVID. He's on life support. He's a young 25-year-old who just got married recently in the past year, who was healthy before this. I highly suggest if anybody has time today, if you could say to him some Tehillim in his merit, if you could say Tikkun Uklali in his merit, if you can learn a little bit in his merit, just say a quick prayer to Hashem. Hashem, please help this person that he should live a full life, and he should be able to afterwards experience your light and good. Everybody have an amazing day.